and the chaos that Greg Abbott has caused. Through his executive action last week that mandates 100% inspections on all commercial vehicles coming into the U.S. through our ports of entry here in Texas, he has slowed down U.S.-Mexico trade to a standstill. That is causing higher prices. It is causing higher inflation. It is worsening a supply chain problem that we already had in the United States. We're going to lose even more truck drivers who are going to have a hard time making a living when they were used to crossing 3 or 4 times a day. Now they're lucky if they cross even once. Someone was just telling me there are some truck drivers who are now crossing once every 3 days. This is going to lead to problems not just here in the Rio Grande Valley, although we have some serious problems here that Greg Abbott has caused, but it's going to be very bad for the Texas economy. It's going to be very bad for the national economy. This is the cost and the consequence of meeting legitimate challenges that we have with the kind of political stunts that Greg Abbott is using right now here in the state of Texas. This is making a challenging situation for small businesses much, much worse. I was in Laredo yesterday, meeting with customs brokers and trucking company owners and just everyday citizens who are alarmed at what this is doing to their economy. I've had the chance to talk to people in El Paso, in Eagle Pass, in Del Rio, and yes, of course, here today in the Rio Grande Valley. Greg Abbott is killing businesses and the Texas economy with the stunt that he's pulling here right now. When you see those trucks lined up, miles deep, all the way into Mexico, what you're seeing is inflation, what you're seeing is higher prices at the grocery store, and what you're seeing are more supply chain problems. We are calling on Greg Abbott to end this policy today because it does nothing to stop the traffic of illegal drugs. It does nothing to stop the smuggling of human beings. It does nothing to improve the safety or security of the people of Texas. All it does is hurt the economy of this community, of this state, and of the United States of America. One more point before I introduce 2 other speakers who are going to talk in very real terms about how this has affected their businesses and their employees. I just learned from an importer who has one of these cold storage facilities and imports produce here at the FAR Reynosa Port of Entry, what this is doing to her business. She said that U.S. truckers are arriving to pick up loads only to find that there is nothing in her warehouse. That is hurting those truckers. It is hurting her business. She also just shared with me that there is a business that imports $200 million a year in produce that has just moved to Nogales, Arizona, which is a 20-hour drive away from where we are in FAR right now. And she's in the position of having to import produce from Nogales, Arizona, a 20-hour drive away here to FAR, to then load it onto trucks that are going into other parts of the United States. What she told me in no uncertain terms is that once these businesses leave the Rio Grande Valley and go to Arizona, they are not coming back because they're going to invest in their own cold storage facilities over there. It's going to change the routes and the flow of trade traffic in our communities, and it is going to irrevocably hurt the economy of Texas. The first person that I want to introduce is our host today, who allowed us to gather here in his cold storage facility. But even more importantly, he is a customs broker. So he works with clients all over this region who are trying to bring in the food, the television sets, the car parts, the things that our national economy and Texas economy depend upon. So Joe Arevalo is going to tell us a little bit about what this means to him, to his business, and to his clients. And then after we hear from Joe, we're going to have a chance to hear from someone who owns a trucking company. He's going to tell us what this means for his drivers and his small business here in FAR in the Rio Grande Valley. So Joe, we'll turn the microphones over to you, and then Joe and all of us will be ready to answer questions after we have these brief comments.
Hello, my name is Joe Arevalo. I'm a U.S. Custom House broker and I am the owner of the Keystone facility that you're currently in. I've been a broker and owned my business for 30 years. Started in actual customs brokerage at the age of 19, and it's been a lifetime career. And we've enjoyed a lot of success during those years. Normally through this port, when things were working the way they should, with all our colleague and custom broker competitors, we were importing about 1,000 loads of produce per day between all of us, and about 1,000 loads of electronics and automotive and other manufactured goods. A total of about $25 million of produce comes into the port daily, and 32 million of manufactured products. Well, that has recently stopped. DPS has always performed inspections safety inspections on the imports, but they do them at a small percentage. They do 2%, 3%, 5%. They've never, ever held up a complete system or a complete supply chain in order to attempt to inspect 100% of the shipments. Basically, if you all don't know what's going on, DPS has stationed up one of their vehicles outside of the export lot, not allowing trucks to flow from the import lot into the commerce. They are blocking the trade, attempting to get them into the DPS compound so that they can physically check and perform their safety standard checks for 100% of all the import going on. The only problem with that is that they can only inspect 100 loads a day or 150 loads a day. So what's happening to the 2,500 loads that are coming in daily with not just produce and maquiladoras, but the empty trucks that have to make it to come and pick up shipments so that the United States can export to Mexico? It's not happening. It's come to a halt. So we're living through a nightmare. We're already suffering through a very delicate supply chain from the pandemic and just trying to regrow the business. And then President Abbott implements a policy that adds 45 more minutes to the inspection process. What do y'all think is gonna happen when they can't complete the inspection? What's gonna happen to all the trucks on the bridge? They're gonna line up way deep into Mexico. And the end result is that importers are gonna leave. Importers that normally bring in hundreds of millions of dollars every year of business are gonna start going through other ports. You know, we're already going through Nogales. Some of our clients are wanting to go through Nogales. We're going to San Diego. Some of them are looking for ocean ports to enter their product. But they were perfectly fine here until this policy, which is a truck safety policy, but is being used to negotiate immigration. Why? Why is that happening to us? What do we have to do with immigration and Title 42, right? And Title 42. So it's having a very devastating effect to the whole supply chain. We're seeing growers having to plow over their product. We're seeing transportation companies who can't load up their product because there's none. We're seeing manufacturers that are shutting down plants on the Mexican side and shutting down plants on the US side. We have manufacturing companies like Toyota that they're depending on the rapid movement of their components so that they can complete their automobile so that they can enter the market. And now they don't have access to that because truck safety is being used as a pawn or as a method to negotiate illegal immigration. So why? Why are we being held hostage? Why is DPS parking their trucks in front of the exit, in front of the export lot, so that they can hold and place into their inspection facilities when they don't have the capabilities to inspect. So those are some of my thoughts. Another thing that I want you all to know is that on Friday, they inspected 150 shipments, 150 trucks for truck safety, and of course they took the opportunity to check for illegals and check for drugs. On Saturday, they inspected 83, Sunday 57, and yesterday 47. But we have 2,000 trucks crossing a day with goods and 500 crossing empty. What happened to those loads? They went through other ports. We had to go through other ports, Brownsville, through Laredo, where they're a little bit more friendlier. We're being attacked at our port. We're being shut down. And and everyone is here because it's happening to them. We're losing sales, and it's hurting our business. I don't know what else to say.
Joe, thank you. I wanted you to hear directly from Joe. We're in his warehouse right now. This should be full of produce and imports that are going to be picked up by U.S. truckers to be taken deeper into this country. But as you can see right now, it is empty. And this is costing Joe. It's going to be expensive for him. It's unsustainable if it continues much further. It's going to make it harder to keep people employed, to hire people, and to keep this economy going here locally and across the state of Texas. I also want to make the point that as Mexican truck drivers, understandably frustrated, begin to shut down some of these international bridges, it's affecting our ability to export what we make in the state of Texas to the rest of the Americas, to Mexico and points beyond that further south. And the last thing that I want to say before I bring up Polo is that it doesn't just affect us here. So much of what should be able to be imported, but is now stalled on the bridges because of Greg Abbott, is destined for factory floors in San Antonio, in Michigan, and Ohio. Those workers are unable to get the parts and the inputs they need to build the things that the country of the United States of America actually makes. So this is harming our entire economy, again, because of a stunt that Greg Abbott has pulled. These DPS inspections cannot look inside of the cargo. They can just look at tire pressure or the engine or the quality of the truck right there. So it's hurting our economy. It is killing jobs. It is causing higher inflation and supply chain problems, and we get no benefit from it. Polo Chow is someone who owns one of these trucking companies. He knows what's in the cargo holds that should be coming here right now to this warehouse and to other points deeper into Texas and to the United States. I want him to talk about what this means for his business. And I just want to acknowledge for everyone watching at home, it is very cold in this cold storage warehouse, and all the more impressive that Polo Chow is in a short sleeve shirt while he gives his comments. So Polo, we're going to listen to you now.
Good afternoon, good morning. Thank you, Beto. Well, I'm in a short sleeve shirt because I'm so nervous, I guess. No, this is a very serious issue. This initiative from the governor, I quite can't understand what's going on. Like Joe was stating earlier, in terms of, I don't think they've caught any illegal aliens or they seized any drugs in these past few days. DPS has to do a level 1 inspection on every single truck. What that means is that every single truck that crosses, it takes anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour to do inspection per truck. So the bridge is open 12 or 14 hours, so you can count how many trucks get inspected per day out of 3,000 trucks. So what happened when the initiative started on Thursday, the line started getting backlogged and backlogged. Customs was trying to do everything they could to process all the trucks, but they would go into DPS or Department of Public Safety, and basically they would just stop. It stopped the whole flow of traffic, and the drivers were sitting on the bridge up to 14, 16 hours per day. As of that, as per consequence as of that, now the drivers, owner-operated drivers in Mexico, in Reynosa, decided as of yesterday to block entry to Mexican and U.S. Customs, both north and southbound. So that, as of yesterday, 0 trucks crossed yesterday Typically, you have 3,000 trucks crossing per day here. I would like to figure out what's going on with all that flow of traffic. It's just sitting there in Mexico, and it's not crossing. And how this affects us? Well, it affects us, the trucking companies, the U.S. trucking companies from everywhere, from the States, coming down here, bringing product down that's supposed to go into Mexico. So, some of that product is pork and beef. The United States is a huge exporter of pork and beef, and Mexico is a huge importer of beef and pork and beef and chicken. So all that product is just sitting here in the warehouses. It's not crossing into Mexico as of yesterday. And the U.S. drivers who came down and are trying to go back up north to take either automotive parts or electrical parts or produce are just sitting here. They're idling at $5 a gallon. Well, it's really hurting us a lot. So you have unproductive drivers, U.S. drivers that stayed here. On the Mexican side, the Mexican drivers, we spoke with them yesterday, and their big concern is that if they're gonna have to wait 16 hours on the bridge with no food, no water, no restrooms. I mean, really, how do you go out, how do you go to a restroom on the top of the bridge? How do you eat? How do you drink? These are inhumane conditions. And they said, no more. We're not gonna do that. If you're gonna hold us on the bridge, we'd rather be on the Mexican side where we have access to food, water, and restroom facilities. So that's what they're doing. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's their point of view. And definitely, us as Americans, we are definitely not a culture or civilization of inhumane acts. I think that's an inhumane act, and that's what the drivers are doing. Now, in terms of how this is affecting the other industries, other than produce, well, produce specifically, Beto and both Joe were stating, it's very simple. A large quantity of tomatoes, mangoes, avocados come from Mexico. What's going to happen to when I go in as a regular Texas citizen to one of my local supermarkets? If there are vegetables, obviously the price is going to be much higher. Probably I won't find tomatoes. Probably I won't find avocados because they're all sitting across the border. In the automotive industry, the supply chain is a very delicate process that's done between the manufacturing plants in Mexico and the assembly plants here in the States. We mentioned earlier the plant here in San Antonio, Texas, the Toyota plant. I personally bring product from Mexico. Some of those trailers have been sitting across the border for 3 days. So that product is sitting across the border. What do you think is going to happen to that plant in San Antonio? They don't have those large inventory levels they used to carry before. I think, I mean, I'm no expert in that area, but I'd bet you're saying anywhere from 3 to 5 days, that's what they hold. After that, what do you think is going to happen to that assembly plant? It's going to have to come to a halt because there are no mirrors or hoses or whatever goes into the car to assemble it. And how is that going to affect Texas citizens? And I stress, that's why I stress San Antonio, because this is a Texas initiative by the governor. The same example is going to affect other assembly plants up in Michigan, Ford, GM, etc. But I am asking the governor, please look into this initiative. It is not improving safety. It is not improving illegal immigrants. It is not improving our war against drugs. That's not the way to do it. Customs here, at least so far, has worked with us extremely well. They've gone above and beyond to help us cross the shipments on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These guys at Customs, they were working overtime. I mean, way past midnight, way past the working hours, and we cleared as many trucks as they could. But now, because of the Mexican drivers, the bridge has had a halt. 0 cars, 0 trucks are crossing north and southbound. And now, on the southbound side, that's going to affect the manufacturing plants in Reynosa. If they have no raw product, what are they going to assemble? What are they going to produce? So this is going to start creating a big supply chain problem across Mexico. and here in the States, specifically us Texans. We are Texans. Governor, please listen to us. We need your help. This initiative is not helping anybody. Thank you.
Muy brevemente en español y luego voy a contestar sus preguntas. Las acciones del gobernador Greg Abbott está afectando de una manera muy negativa la comunidad de FAR, aquí en el RGV, Laredo, El Paso, las comunidades de la frontera, pero también la economía del estado de Texas, la economía de los Estados Unidos. Está causando más inflación, van a subir los precios para cada persona en cada parte del estado de Texas y van a afectar muy negativamente los negocios pequeños aquí en comunidades como FAR y McAllen y El Paso y otras comunidades en el estado de Texas. No necesitamos parar cada camión que quiere cruzar en los puentes internacionales para llegar aquí. Es algo muy, muy negativa para la economía y para el estado de Texas y necesitamos parar la policía y necesitamos cambiar el liderazgo para que podamos afectar en una manera positiva la economía de nuestras comunidades fronterizas como la comunidad aquí en FAR.